As you can see, the diagnostic data confirms a 15% improvement in thermal efficiency.
And the projections for the new injector housing?
They align with the stress tests.
You ever feel invisible? Like, truly invisible? Like the air conditioning unit running in the corner of a boardroom. Essential, but nobody ever actually sees it. That was me, Elijah Vance, 3 years into my job at Ether Dynamics, a Silicon Valley giant. They called me a facilities consultant, which is a fancy way of saying I emptied trash cans, I mopped floors, and I did it all while wearing a uniform that smelled faintly of pine cleaner and defeat. The CEO, Vivian Thorne, picture a younger, colder Meryl Streep, all tailored silk and platinum blonde hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. She specialized in making people feel small. Especially me. I mean, the way she'd click her 4-inch stilettos across the polished concrete floor, sweeping past me like I was a particularly offensive piece of office furniture. It was an art form. She was 40, built Ether from the ground up, and commanded a room through pure, distilled contempt. But the real drama wasn't me and my mop bucket. It was the Zeus engine. This thing was Ether's holy grail, a revolutionary AI-guided power core for their self-driving logistics fleet, and it was supposed to secure them a billion-dollar contract with Globex, the European shipping conglomerate. It cost $3 million to develop, involved 50-plus patents, and for 6 agonizing weeks, it had been nothing but a $3 million paperweight. Every Ivy League engineer they could hire, guys from Stanford, Caltech, the whole crew, had failed. They tried software patches, hardware swaps. They even brought in a feng shui consultant at one point. I swear to God, convinced the bad energy was messing with the circuit boards. Nothing worked. The engine would fire up, purr for precisely 14 minutes and 37 seconds, and then, clank, shut down, throwing the same maddening error code. Torsional harmony failure. Vivian was losing it. I'd see her pacing the boardroom, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, screaming about the $60 million they were hemorrhaging by the deadline. Meanwhile, I'd just quietly replace the water pitcher, the executive staring at me with that tired, embarrassed pity, the kind you give a stray dog you can't afford to feed. Vivian's gaze, though, was always different. It was predatory. She'd started making subtle, nasty little moves, scheduling my cleaning route to overlap with important investor meetings, then pointing me out to her partners, saying, "We believe in giving everyone an opportunity, even our, maintenance staff." Her tone suggesting that employing me was a charitable donation, not a payroll expense. Her internal emails, the ones I sometimes saw printed out on the conference room table, referred to me as the cleaner, despite my official title being technical consultant. Yeah, I had an associate's degree in mechanical engineering from Detroit Tech, specialized in acoustics and resonance, a degree deferred, a life paused. See, my mother's treatments for stage 3 cancer, $3,000 a pop, only 60% covered by insurance. They ate up every penny. While my classmates were transferring to big universities, I was working 3 jobs, keeping my nose in engineering journals, and holding onto my grandfather's wisdom like a lucky charm. My grandpa, Smokey Vance, was an engine guru back in Detroit. He taught me the fundamental truth. An engine doesn't care about your diploma or your skin color. It only responds to those who truly listen to its heartbeat. He'd put my small hand on a running engine block and say, "Feel that rhythm, eh? 8,000 explosions a minute, all talking to each other. Respect the machine, and it'll never lie to you." I could practically tear down and rebuild a whole V8 blindfolded by the time I was 16. That knowledge was my inheritance, not money. It was the difference between knowing what a machine is and hearing what it's trying to tell you. And late at night, when I was mopping the marble floors, I listened to that Zeus engine. I studied the blueprints the engineers left scattered around. I saw the specs. The engine was precision machined in a German facility using metric measurements, but the AI calibration software was written right here in Sunnyvale using imperial units. A simple, stupid unit conversion discrepancy, but in something that precise, that could be catastrophic. It was a rhythmic, acoustic problem disguised as a software bug. The final straw came Thursday morning. The German delegation from Globex had flown in, a man named Klaus Richter, the kind of industrialist whose tailored suit cost more than my annual salary, and a legend in engineering, Dr. Astrid Lindbergh, a retired power systems genius. The engineers ran one last diagnostic test, and the Zeus engine didn't just fail. It sputtered, smoked, and triggered the fire suppression system, drenching the entire boardroom in chemical foam. Total disaster. Vivian called an emergency all-hands meeting, her eyes scanning the auditorium for someone, anyone, to sacrifice. She announced immediate cost reduction measures and terminations, her gaze locking onto me with pure, cold malice. She was going to make an example. That's when I made my mistake. Or maybe my destiny. I raised my hand. 200 heads turned toward me like sunflowers following the sun. Ma'am, my voice was clear, firm, not shaking. I think the problem might be in the harmonic frequency calibration, not the software integration. A ripple of shock went through the room. Klaus Richter leaned forward. Dr. Lindbergh raised an eyebrow, curiosity replacing boredom. Vivian's face shifted from rage to a terrifying kind of amusement. Well, she purred, stepping away from the podium, her voice amplified with theatrical venom. Our facilities consultant has an opinion about advanced propulsion technology. She clicked her heels closer to me. Here's the deal, Elijah Vance. Fix this $3 million machine that Caltech couldn't crack in front of our investors, and you get the senior consultant role, 6 figures, stock options, the whole 9 yards. She paused, letting the silence hang heavy. Her eyes were burning into mine. But when you fail, and you will, she leaned in, snapping her fingers an inch from my face. You're not just fired. You're escorted out by security, and I will personally ensure that every tech company in this valley knows about your spectacular, arrogant failure. You have 2 hours. Dr. Lindbergh stood up then. That was the moment the game changed. I will serve as the technical witness, she announced, her voice the sound of undeniable authority. This test requires neutral oversight. Vivian's smile faltered, but it was too late. This wasn't humiliation anymore. This was a formal technical evaluation. The boardroom was a theater of judgment. 200 employees pressed against the glass walls, smartphones recording, comments pouring in, mostly predicting the imminent, embarrassing downfall of the janitor. Klaus Richter looked at his platinum watch with the detached patience of a man waiting for a delayed flight. Vivian stood by the window, her phone broadcasting the scene, waiting for the inevitable smoke and failure. I walked up to the Zeus engine, ignoring the suits, the cameras, the buzz. I placed both hands flat against the cold metal block, closing my eyes. I was listening for the heartbeat. It's fighting itself, I said, my voice cutting through the tension. The AI is perfect, but it's constantly overcorrecting for a mechanical problem that shouldn't exist. I looked directly at Klaus Richter. Sir, this engine was machined in Nuremberg to strict metric specifications. Correct, Klaus replied, his eyebrow raised just a fraction. And the AI was calibrated here in California using imperial units. Also correct. There's the core issue, I stated simply. The AI expects the crankshaft and pistons to operate within American engineering tolerance, about plus or minus 0.005 of an inch. But your German components are machined to a far tighter tolerance, about 1/1000th of a millimeter. Mathematically identical, but mechanically, they sing a slightly different song. The engineers, the Caltech graduates, exchanged stunned looks. They'd been looking for a bug in the code. I was pointing out a flaw in the fundamental philosophical translation between 2 continents. The AI constantly micro-adjusts, I continued, gesturing to the complex wave patterns on the oscilloscope, trying to compensate for imprecision that simply isn't there. That oscillation, that torsional harmony failure, that's the engine trying to find its natural, perfect rhythm while the AI forces it into an artificial, clumsy one. I got Dr. Lindbergh's attention then. Her face was locked in deep concentration. I pulled out my digital caliper, not the company's expensive one, my own, the one I kept on my cart, and quickly measured a component. At 2,800 revolutions per minute, the mismatch hits critical resonance. That's why it shuts down at 14 minutes and 37 seconds every single time. The room was silent. This wasn't a janitor rambling. This was sophisticated, acoustic engineering analysis. So what's the fix, Mr. Vance? Dr. Lindbergh asked, her tone now one of genuine respect. I didn't propose reprogramming the AI or replacing hardware. I walked over to a spare parts cabinet, reached in, and pulled out a simple, matte gray metal disc, perforated with precise, calculated holes, a little larger than a hockey puck. This is an acoustic resonance damper, I explained, holding up the $50 component. Instead of tearing down the system, we install this buffer. It bridges the frequency gap. It's a translator that helps the German precision and the American software finally understand each other. Vivian's face was a masterpiece of disbelief. You're suggesting a $50 part can solve a problem that cost us 6 weeks and millions? Sometimes, Ms. Thorne, I replied, my eyes meeting hers. The most elegant engineering solutions are the simplest. I installed the damper. My hands worked with the confident, grease-stained precision of Smokey Vance's grandson. It took me 12 minutes. Ready for testing, I announced, stepping back. 1 hour and 47 minutes had passed. Dr. Lindbergh nodded. Start the engine. The ignition turned. The roar that filled the room was different. It wasn't the harsh, struggling knock they were used to. It was a smooth, deep, confident purr. The sound of 8 cylinders speaking to each other in perfect, rhythmic agreement. My grandpa's voice whispered in my ear. You found its soul, E. The diagnostic screens went blindingly green. Temperature stable. Pressure perfect. The harmonic frequency locked at 3,400 revolutions per minute with 0 deviation. Klaus Richter gasped, a sound that only a true industrialist could make. The engine hit an astonishing 97.3% efficiency, higher than the theoretical maximum. We watched the autonomous truck outside the window. It executed maneuvers with flawless precision. 14 minutes and 37 seconds passed. Nothing. 20 minutes passed. Nothing. 37 minutes passed. Perfection. Shut it down, Dr. Lindbergh commanded, her voice filled with quiet triumph. We've seen enough. The room exploded. Klaus Richter's handshake was firm, Germanic approval etched into his face. Mr. Vance,